Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Open Book. For those of you out there that this is your first tuning in of Open Book, let me tell you, I love Open Book. I am Billy Price. I am one of the two co-founders of Billy Footwear. And in case you didn't know, our shoes with the wraparound zipper, when you open it up, it does open up like a book. So you're stepping in to your story each day. But also, as that name implies, Open Book, we as a company are Open Book. And it's a fun platform here to be able to share stories about our brand and those that we collaborate with. So today we are so excited because we have Miss Olivia. She is the creator of the podcast Living My Best Disabled Life. Olivia, welcome to Open Book.
Thanks for having me.
So Olivia, I'm super excited for our conversation. And I think a great place for us to start here is tell me, how did you get into podcasting?
So I kind of incidentally wound up in it because I wanted to find a way to start advocating for the community, but I didn't want to do something that everyone's doing. And I was right about to graduate college, and I was like, what can I do to start my advocacy journey? And podcasting had become more of a popular thing to do, but there wasn't any disability related podcasts. But I love pop culture too, so I kind of incorporated pop culture, disability representation, and then I interview a ton of other disabled people in a host of different careers.
Love it. And how did so your name, the name of the podcast, Living My Best Disabled Life, can you touch on why that name's important?
So it's actually supposed to be kind of like a pun because my name's Olivia, but I go by Liv. So it's living my best disabled life. But the whole idea of it is that to show disabled people thriving and reaching their goals and the potential that other disabled people don't realize they may have, but then they have these people that they hear the podcast, and then they're inspired by them, not in the way that oh, it's inspiring. No, more just oh, I didn't realize I could do that kind of way.
You know, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are a lot of inspiring stories out there, but there's a lot of, just kind of life hacks, that are important to share. I know in my own personal journey, since me being a wheelchair user, things just aren't quite the same as it was when I was fully ambulatory. So tricks of the trade on how to do switchbacks up a hill, or how to put on pants, or even now shoes. Those are important pieces of information to share. So can you touch on some of the your last guest, for example, can you touch on some of the things that they shared in that episode?
So I can't actually remember the last episode that I did because it's been on a hiatus right now because I have been having to edit them myself and it takes a lot of time. But I can give you some people that have been on the podcast. And a lot of them have they're very they're public figures and stuff. So I've interviewed authors. I've interviewed other journalists. I don't know if anyone knows who this is, but I interviewed Rebecca Taussig. She's the author of Sitting Pretty, The View from My Ordinary Resilient Disabled Body. And then I just kind of did my toes into a bunch of different careers and stuff. Not a single. I interview so many people, and not a single person, even if they have the same disability, they don't have the same experience. So that's been really interesting to see how everyone answers the questions that I answer. I ask similar questions, but not a single person answers it the same way.
Wow. So I would imagine it can be I mean, to have a podcast, you need to have a pipeline of guests. How do you connect with your guests to have them become guests?
So some of them like I've met through the disability community, just on like social media and stuff, and others I just kind of reach out, send them a DM, send them emails, and like give them a blurb about what my mission with the podcast is, and see if they want to schedule, and I'll just send them the scheduling link. So it's kind of like if they want to, great, but it's not like I never feel like I'm like getting people that like don't really want to do it, because I give them the option. It's not like that they have to do it immediately too. I have like I send them my schedule, so they can
Wow,
schedule
love it.
whatever they want.
Well, let me share. Let me put some links up here on the screen right here. So, for those that are listening or watching, I'm going to give you 2 Instagram handles. So the first one, this one's to the actual podcast on Instagram. So it's Living My Best Disabled Life. So let me spell this out for you for those that are listening. LivingMyBestDisabledLife. So that is to the podcast. And then here's one for Miss Olivia. So Instagram, it's Olivia_Murphy with 2 Y's. So OLIVIA_MURPHYNY. So wow. So Olivia, I'm curious. Do you know how many guests you've had so far on your podcast?
I've had around, I'm not sure how many guests because some of them are reoccurring. But I've done around like over 50 episodes in the last 4 years.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that takes a lot of time. Like not only a lot of time to set it up, but a lot of time to edit it and to get it out there. So you touched on when you're trying to connect with your guests to get them on the podcast. I know you kind of touched on a little bit the reason for starting it. Can you put into words like really what you say your mission and your vision is, and the goal of the podcast?
So actually I'll give you three words that like I usually like live by in the sense of like the podcast itself. So educate, advocate, and celebrate. So like celebrating the disability community, advocating for the disability community and for the needed change in society, and then educating about disability or disability culture.
Those are extremely powerful words and vitally important. And I recognize that this has got to be a little bit different because I'm the one asking the questions right now, and typically the roles are reversed. And I kind of want to put you on the spot right here of if all of a sudden let's reverse the roles right here. And if you were to ask me a question, what would be that opening question you would ask me?
I'm curious to know what inspired you to actually start Open Book rather than just having, the shoe company. But what inspired you to start like spotlighting everyone involved in different realms?
Thank you. That is an awesome question, and that's a question I don't necessarily know I've ever been asked. So and I'm excited to give you an answer. So the success of our brand has been a lot through, we've had tremendous success through word of mouth. And it's been a lot of people sharing their experiences that have been very positive, and they want to talk about that success within their own network. And then that inspired other people to come and not only find out about the brand, but then try out the brand. And they too were having a lot of successful experiences. So what we did was, because of that word of mouth building community, we started connecting with a lot of nonprofits, and we started collecting with a lot of those who would be interested in being some sort of an affiliate of the brand. And what we found was with all of those nonprofits and those affiliates, they are trying to get word out about their brand just as much as we're trying to get the word out on our brand. So it just felt like we could create something like some sort of a platform where we're sharing, like kind of sharing the limelight, I guess, to exchange stories and generate some conversation, talking about like not only both of our stories, both of our histories, but what we're doing together. And the name Open Book, it's just kind of being honest, like just being honest, like we're going to be honest, they're going to be honest. So that's kind of the open book, like anything within our book you can touch on. But then it was also kind of the play on words, similar to what you're talking about, live, like living, the open book, given that our shoe actually opens up that way. It's funny, like the zipper, like the whole upper folds over, so it does kind of look like you're opening up a book.
Man, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So that was kind of the name behind the platform, but the platform is really inspired to be able to help others get their story out, but also for us to be able to share ours.
I love that.
So I'm curious, do you know who your next guest is on your podcast?
Actually, I have one tomorrow. Her name's Jane Mattingly. She has a book coming out in March, so the episode won't like drop until March, but it's kind of like her journey as a disabled person and grieving kind of like her able-bodied life, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, that's those are both, that can be a heavy topic with a lot of emotion, but also a very important message to get out there. That's for sure. So, I mean, Olivia, I have a feeling that you and I could talk for a very, very long time, but I want to be respectful of your time. And I did have just kind of one more question. So I know you have the mission. I mean, with your 3 words you shared on what you're trying to achieve with the podcast, I mean, those are great targets. I'm curious, like, if there's an overarching goal, like what would be like the end state? I mean, is it a matter of like more reach? I mean, are you reaching outside the United States, or is it just more like, I mean, how far is your reach, and where do you want to be until you can finally like kind of like pat yourself on the back and go like, I have accomplished what I set out to do?
I kind of want to expand it into more than just the podcast. I also have merch, like I sell shirts. I'm actually wearing the shirt.
I love it.
But so I kind of wanted to do the podcast, have merch, maybe even like expand it into like a whole company and have other like types of resources. I'm not really even sure, like but like almost everything I do is kind of like brought back into living my best disabled life, because I'm also writing a book right now that actually has living my best disabled life in the title, sort of. And then like I'm writing a children's book too. So I'm writing a memoir, I'm writing a children's book too. So, and they all have a similar theme. So like I wanted to kind of become eventually like a whole company, and like a well-reaching brand. Right now it does have some reach in other countries, which I didn't even realize until you look at like the Spotify for podcasters thing that breaks down like other countries that are listening to your podcast and stuff. But since I took a break from it, it kind of lost some of its reach. But I'm hoping to, in like the new year, kind of gain back my momentum that I had before.
Wow. Well, good. I mean, kudos to you, because I mean, the topics you're touching on and the stories you're able to share, I mean, it's adding a ton of value. And that's one of the things that like I cherish so much about like what we strive to do on our side is it's in our mission statement, really trying to add value and make a measurable difference in the world. And so much of that happens to do with working together collaboratively with others to generate community. So like what you're doing, bringing people together, having those conversations, asking kind of those tough questions, but allowing people to share. I mean, it just truly adds so much value.
I think if I was going to say one thing that I want to do more of in terms of like living my best disabled life is start having more like partnerships and like to help with the reach, similar like this stuff.
Good. Well, you heard it, everyone. Partnerships, getting out there. Make sure to check out Olivia's podcast. So it's Living My Best Disabled Life. That's the Instagram handle. And then also, if you put in the same thing, you'll find the podcast. It'll pop up immediately on Google and Spotify and such. And then also find out more about Olivia through her Instagram handle, Olivia_Murphy. So, Olivia, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone else out there, this was another episode of Open Book. We'll have another one again real soon. So until then, take care.